Ethan had been stationed on the outer rim of the Tellurian sector for nearly 6 months. The planet of Veora, with its sprawling violet forests and towering crystalline mountains, was supposed to be peaceful. But peace, he had learned, was always fragile. The Tellurians were a proud and intelligent species, known for their advanced technology and delicate physiology. Humans and Tellurians rarely interacted, but a fragile alliance had kept the region stable. Until now. Ethan was walking through the clearing near the royal palace when the first explosion rocked the ground. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and distant screams echoed through the forest. He sprinted toward the palace, sensing that something catastrophic had happened. Inside, chaos reigned. A rogue faction of mercenaries armed with stolen Tellurian weapons had breached the royal security. The hallways were filled with smoke and panic.
Ethan's trained eyes scanned the scene, noting the wounded guards and terrified civilians.
Then he saw her, Princess Liara, the youngest of the Tellurian royal family, lying on the ground, barely conscious. Her shimmering silver-blue skin had dulled and her breathing was shallow. "Princess," Ethan shouted, leaping to her side. He could see the deep wound on her chest, a jagged gash that no ordinary medkit could heal. The palace healers were frantic, but their technology couldn't stabilize her. Ethan knew he had to act, fast. The Tellurian healers explained that her species' biology was highly sensitive. Only a rare blood transfusion, compatible with her unique physiology, could save her life. They had none in stock. And then, without fully thinking about the danger, Ethan offered his own blood. "I'll do it," he said firmly. "It's my best shot at keeping her alive." The healers exchanged doubtful glances. Humans were very different from Tellurians, but time was running out. Ethan rolled up his sleeve and allowed them to draw blood. As the transfusion began, he felt a strange warmth spread through his arm, and then he focused entirely on keeping the princess alive. Minutes passed like hours. Liara's eyes fluttered open, weak but aware. Her gaze met Ethan's and she gasped softly. You saved me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Ethan nodded. "I couldn't let you die. Not when there's a chance I could help." A faint glow began emanating from her chest where the transfusion had entered her body. Ethan noticed the light spreading, connecting with his own bloodstream in a way that defied logic. The healers were astonished. Something extraordinary was happening. Liara's body trembled, then straightened. Her weakened form regained strength in moments, faster than any healer had expected. Her eyes glowed softly, and her silver-blue skin shone once again. But now there was a new depth to her presence, as if the transfusion had awakened something hidden within her. "Your blood, it's changed me," Liara said slowly, testing her movements. "I can feel power I never had before." Ethan watched carefully. He realized that the Tellurian physiology, combined with human vitality, had created an unexpected resonance. Liara's latent abilities, which had always been limited, were now amplified. She could feel his thoughts faintly, sense his emotions, and even anticipate his movements. The bond was subtle but undeniable. Before either of them could process it further, the sound of intruders echoed through the sanctuary. The rogue mercenaries had learned the princess survived and were coming for her again. Ethan grabbed her arm. "Come on," he urged. "We have to move now." Together they ran through the corridors, dodging energy blasts and collapsing structures. Liara, though still weak from her injury, instinctively used her newly awakened powers to shield them from harm. A faint energy shield surrounded them as they navigated the twisting halls. They exited through a hidden passage, one the palace staff rarely used. Outside, the forest loomed, dark and mysterious, but it offered cover. Ethan led the way, moving quickly yet silently. Liara followed, her senses heightened, noticing every movement of the creatures and terrain around them. Hours passed as they navigated through jagged cliffs, rivers of glowing water, and dense bioluminescent forests. Ethan marveled at the beauty of Veora, but there was no time for admiration. Every step could be their last if the mercenaries caught up. During a rare pause by a glowing river, Liara finally spoke. I don't understand how this is possible. Your blood, it's compatible with me. It's like we are connected." Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. "I don't know why, but it worked. All I know is that you're alive. That's enough for now." Liara's eyes softened. "Alive because of you. I owe you my life, Ethan. More than anyone else in the universe could." He shrugged, trying to seem casual, though a warmth spread through him. "Don't thank me yet. We're not safe. Despite her weakness, Liara rose and activated a small energy device on her wrist. It projected a map of the surrounding terrain. Ethan studied it carefully. They were near an ancient Telerian sanctuary, abandoned but rumored to have protective systems. It was their only chance for temporary safety. The journey was perilous. Strange wildlife lurked in the shadows, drawn by the disturbance in the area. Ethan fought off several predators with his combat training, while Liara used her enhanced abilities to manipulate energy barriers, creating a protective path. Each step forward strengthened their bond. They were no longer simply human and alien. They were a team, linked by courage, trust, and something neither fully understood. By nightfall, they reached the sanctuary. Massive stone structures etched with ancient Telerian symbols rose before them. Inside, the air was cool and still. Liara touched the walls, sensing the energy stored within the stones. It was peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just endured. Ethan helped her to a resting platform. She sat breathing deeply, still marveling at the changes in her body. Her eyes glowed faintly, and her energy radiated a calming warmth. "You've done more than save me," she said softly. "You've awakened something in me, I feel. Stronger, wiser, and connected to you." Ethan gave a small smile. "We're connected, huh? Ever thought a human and a Telerian princess would end up like this?" She laughed quietly, a sound like wind over crystal. "It is strange, but I trust you, Ethan, more than anyone else." The night passed slowly. Ethan kept watch, wary of any approaching danger. Liara explored the sanctuary's inner chambers, discovering ancient records of her ancestors, some of whom had also formed bonds with outsiders in times of crisis. It was a rare honor, and the resonance of her connection with Ethan seemed to echo the ancient tales. As dawn broke, the first rays of light illuminated the sanctuary. Liara stood beside Ethan, her powers now fully stabilizing. She felt confident, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. But she also knew that the bond formed between them was deeper than any political alliance or tactical advantage. It was personal. Ethan looked out over the forest, the morning mist curling around the crystalline peaks. "We survived the night. That's step one. Step two, we need to make sure no one else gets hurt, and that rogue faction doesn't get away with what they tried to do." Liara nodded. "I agree. But first, I need to understand the full extent of what your blood did to me. This change, it is more than physical. I feel it in my mind, in my heart. Somehow it has altered who I am." Ethan studied her carefully. "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. You're not alone in this." For the first time since the attack, Liara allowed herself a moment of peace. In the sanctuary's quiet, with Ethan by her side, she felt hope. They were a human and an alien, different in nearly every way, but together, they were stronger than any danger they might face, and somewhere deep inside both of them, a bond was forming that neither fully understood but both instinctively trusted, a bond that might one day change not just their lives, but the future of two worlds. But danger was never far away. The rogue faction would not give up so easily, and the Telerian Empire would soon hear of the princess's survival and the mysterious bond with a human warrior. The next steps would be more dangerous, more complicated, and yet for the first time Ethan and Liara faced it together, united by courage, trust, and the miracle of life itself. The morning sun illuminated the sanctuary in soft golden light, casting long shadows across the ancient walls. Ethan and Liara had spent the night discussing the events that had brought them here and trying to understand the mysterious connection between them. The bond formed during her recovery was unlike anything either of them had experienced. Ethan could feel her emotions faintly, and Liara sensed his intentions. It was subtle, but undeniable. "You've changed me," Liara said, standing in the center of the sanctuary. Her glow had stabilized, and her energy radiated quietly, a sign of the transformation her body had undergone. "Your blood, it did more than save my life. I feel stronger, faster, and connected to you in ways I can't explain." Ethan nodded, studying the patterns of energy around her. "It's remarkable, but it's not just about your powers. You survived, and that shows how capable you are. Humans and Telerians are different, but we can work together, better than anyone expects." Before they could continue their conversation, a low hum echoed through the sanctuary. Liara tensed immediately, sensing the presence of approaching ships. Through her heightened perception, she detected several rogue craft descending into the valley below. "They're coming for us," she said calmly. "The rogue faction won't give up easily. We need a plan." Ethan crouched next to her. "We've got the sanctuary. It's ancient, but there are defenses we can activate. Some of the old systems still work. We can use them to hold them off until reinforcements arrive, or until we can escape." Liara nodded, and together they moved through the sanctuary's halls. She activated control panels and ancient devices, reawakening protective barriers and energy traps. Ethan observed her in awe. Despite the recent trauma and the transformation she had undergone, her strategic mind was sharp and precise. As the first rogue ships appeared on the horizon, Liara projected an energy shield around the sanctuary. It shimmered like liquid light, forming a dome strong enough to withstand the initial attacks. Ethan took position near the entrance, his weapons ready, prepared to defend her at any cost. The rogue faction landed in force, attempting to breach the sanctuary with ground troops and energy weapons. Liara unleashed bursts of energy, using her amplified abilities to push back the attackers. Ethan coordinated the defense, taking advantage of his tactical experience. Despite being human, he anticipated enemy movements and directed Liara to the most vulnerable points. During a brief lull in the attack, Liara turned to Ethan. "Your presence here, it gives me courage. I can feel your focus, your resolve. It's unlike anything I've ever sensed in another being." Ethan smiled faintly, though his attention never wavered. "I'm just doing my part. You're the one who's amazing. I've only got a pulse and a weapon. You've got powers I'm still trying to understand." A sudden explosion shook the sanctuary, and a section of the shield flickered. Liara's energy flared instinctively, stabilizing the barrier, but it drained her quickly. Ethan noticed and moved closer. "You're overexerting yourself," he said, concern in his voice. "We can't win if you burn out." Liara shook her head. "I can handle it. But I need you. I can feel your strength, your presence. It amplifies my abilities. Together we can protect the sanctuary." The ground trembled as more enemies advanced. Ethan fought beside her, every movement precise, every strike calculated. Despite being outnumbered, their coordination created an unexpected advantage. The bond formed through the transfusion allowed them to anticipate each other's actions. Liara would launch a wave of energy, and Ethan would guide it toward the enemies, maximizing its effect. Hours passed in a blur of combat. Slowly, the rogue faction began to retreat, overwhelmed by the coordinated defense and the unexpected resilience of the sanctuary. When the last of the attackers fled, the forest fell silent. The air smelled of scorched earth and ozone, but the sanctuary remained intact thanks to Ethan and Liara's combined efforts. Liara collapsed onto the floor, exhausted but alive. Ethan knelt beside her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did it, we did it. The attackers are gone." She smiled weakly, her energy flickering. We really make a good team. I never thought a human could be this, essential to the survival of my people." Ethan chuckled softly. "Don't make me blush. You're the one with glowing energy powers. I'm just a guy with a pulse and a gun." The two shared a quiet moment, catching their breath. Outside the sanctuary, reinforcements from the Telerian Royal Guard arrived, alerted by the chaos. They approached cautiously, unsure of the situation, but Liara's presence reassured them. She rose, standing tall, her powers now stable and under control. The commander of the reinforcements, a tall Telerian with metallic silver armor, bowed slightly. "Princess Liara, your survival is remarkable. And this human," he glanced at Ethan, who stood by her side. "He is responsible for your life?" Liara nodded. "Yes, he saved me when no one else could. He risked his life without hesitation." The commander studied Ethan, clearly impressed. "Then he is an honored guest of the Telerian Empire. Your courage will be recognized." Ethan inclined his head. "I was just doing what anyone should do." Liara's smile widened. "No, what you did was extraordinary. You are more than a human soldier. You are a hero in our history now." With the immediate threat gone, Liara and Ethan began to explore the full extent of her transformation. The blood transfusion had altered her physiology permanently. Her senses were heightened, her reflexes faster, and her ability to manipulate energy more precise. But more importantly, the bond between them had created a new dynamic. Ethan could sense when she was in danger before she even reacted, and Liara could feel his presence guiding her decisions. Over the following days, Liara trained under Ethan's guidance, learning to control her abilities with greater precision. Ethan, in turn, learned about Telerian combat techniques and technology. They shared knowledge, skills, and stories, each teaching the other something new. The partnership that began in crisis grew into mutual respect and trust. As their bond deepened, word of the princess's survival and her connection to a human began to spread across the Telerian Empire. Some saw Ethan as a threat, worried that a human's influence could disrupt traditional Telerian hierarchies. Others admired him, recognizing his bravery and the role he played in saving their future. Liara faced these political challenges with confidence, knowing that Ethan was by her side. In public appearances, she demonstrated her regained strength and poise, subtly showing the world that she was capable and in control. Ethan, though human, earned the respect of many Telerians through his actions and strategic thinking. One evening, as they overlooked the crystalline forests from a balcony of the palace, Liara spoke quietly. "Ethan, I never imagined a human could have such an impact on my life. You risked everything for me, and in doing so, you changed who I am." Ethan looked at her, the wind stirring his hair. "I didn't expect any of this either. But I know one thing. Whatever comes next, we face it together." She nodded, feeling the warmth of his presence. The bond they shared was more than physical. It was emotional, mental, and unspoken. It was a connection that could bridge the gap between species, showing that courage, trust, and compassion were universal. The story concluded with a vision of hope. The rogue faction had been defeated, the Telerian Empire was safe, and a new alliance between humans and Telerians was beginning. Ethan and Liara's partnership became a symbol of cooperation, proving that even in the vastness of the galaxy, one human's courage could save a princess, and in doing so, change the destiny of two worlds. As night fell, the stars of Veora shone brighter than ever. Ethan and Liara stood side by side, looking toward the horizon, knowing that the challenges ahead would be many, but together, they could overcome anything. For the first time in history, a human and a Telerian princess were not just allies. They were bound by courage, sacrifice, and a connection that transcended species. Their story would be told for generations, a testament to the strength of humanity and the power of trust, compassion, and heroism.